In a peaceful village surrounded by towering mountains, there lived a kind-hearted man named Rohan. He was well known for his generosity, always helping others without expecting anything in return. Yet, despite his good deeds, an unshakable sadness lingered within him. He could not understand why happiness felt so temporary. Some days, joy filled his heart like sunshine, but on others, a deep emptiness crept in, leaving him lost. He longed for an answer, for a way to keep happiness from slipping away. His quest for understanding led him to a wise sage who had just arrived in the village. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Rohan rushed to meet the sage. The old man was known for his wisdom, a traveler who had guided many towards enlightenment. With a heavy heart, Rohan spoke, "Oh, wise sage, I feel lost. I do good things, I help others, yet sadness still finds me. Why does happiness not stay forever?" The sage studied him for a moment before offering a gentle smile. "Come with me," he said, "and I will show you something that will change your life." Intrigued, Rohan followed the sage up a winding path that led to a vast open field. The cool wind rustled the grass as they walked in silence. In the middle of the field stood a majestic tree, its branches stretching wide as if embracing the sky. The sage pointed to the tree and asked, "Do you see this tree? It stands strong, offering shade and comfort. Do you think it has never faced storms?" Rohan gazed at the tree, noticing its deep roots, and replied, "Of course. It must have endured many storms, strong winds, and heavy rains." The sage nodded. "Exactly. This tree does not break because its roots are deep and strong. Life will bring you storms, sadness, and struggles. But if your roots are built on wisdom and understanding, you will never fall." Rohan listened intently, his heart pounding with curiosity. "But how can I make my roots strong? How can I remain happy even when sadness comes?" The sage smiled knowingly. "Let me tell you a story of a young prince who, despite having everything, still felt an unexplained emptiness deep within his soul." The prince's name was Aaron, a young man who lived in a palace of unmatched splendor. He possessed wealth, power, and luxuries beyond imagination. Yet at night he sat alone, staring at the moon, feeling an unsettling void inside him. He could not understand why, despite having everything, happiness always felt out of reach. One evening, a mysterious traveler arrived at the palace, carrying an old wooden box. The traveler requested an audience with the prince. Intrigued by his presence, Aaron allowed him inside. The traveler placed the box before him and said, "Inside this box lies the answer to your sadness." The prince hesitated, his fingers tracing the rough surface of the box. "But be warned," the traveler continued, "once you open it, you must follow the instructions exactly as given." Aaron's heart pounded with anticipation. Slowly, he lifted the lid and found a simple candle inside. Confused, he looked at the traveler, who said, "Take this candle and light it in the darkest room of your palace. Wait for what happens next." Aaron's curiosity grew stronger. He took the candle, determined to see if it truly held the answer to the emptiness he had felt for so long. That night, Aaron walked through the palace, searching for the darkest room. He stopped before an old chamber, one that had been abandoned for years. Dust covered the floor, and the air smelled of forgotten memories. With a deep breath, he stepped inside and lit the candle. The moment the flame flickered to life, the room was bathed in a golden glow. But just as he began to admire the warm light, something chilling happened. The shadows began to move. Shapes twisted and contorted along the walls, forming eerie figures that seemed to whisper in hushed voices. Fear gripped Aaron's heart. The room, once silent, now pulsed with an eerie presence. The shadows shifted unnaturally, as if they had minds of their own. He wanted to blow out the candle and flee, but the traveler's warning echoed in his mind. Gathering his courage, he stood his ground, his eyes locked onto the moving darkness. Then, amidst the chaos, he noticed something. A small, steady light in the midst of the swirling shadows. It remained untouched, unwavering, unaffected by the movement around it. It was in that moment that something within him changed. As he focused on the small light, his fear slowly began to fade. The darkness still loomed, but it no longer held the same power over him. The next morning, Aaron rushed to the traveler and demanded answers. "What was that? Why did the shadows move? And what was the small light I saw?" The traveler smiled, his eyes filled with knowing wisdom. The shadows were your fears, your doubts, and your sadness. They grow when you focus on them. But the small light? That was your inner strength. No matter how great the darkness, your light remains. The sage paused and looked at Rohan. You see, sadness, like the shadows, will always be there. But you have the power to decide where to focus. Do you give in to the darkness, or do you embrace the light within you? Let me tell you another story, one that will further guide your understanding. In a distant land, there was a village haunted by a mysterious cave. Legend said those who entered never returned. The villagers feared it, warning their children to stay away. But one day, a young boy named Kabir, seeking the truth, decided to face his fears. As Kabir stepped into the cave, the air grew thick with an eerie silence. The darkness wrapped around him, pressing on his chest like a heavy weight. Each step echoed, making it feel as if unseen eyes watched him from the shadows. His heart pounded, but he pressed on, determined to uncover the cave's secrets. Suddenly, a whisper, faint yet unmistakable, drifted through the air. "Turn back," the voice urged, sending shivers down his spine. But Kabir clenched his fists, steadied his breath, and took another step forward, refusing to let fear dictate his actions.